You're here because you need to hear your story. How valuable is your story to you? You need to write your story so you can learn to love it. How do you love yourself? By seeing the value in your story. Because once you think your story is valuable, you start doing more valuable things. And today on Idea Tennis, with yours truly, Asher, and the incredible Jessica VB, we're here to focus on like how valuable is your story. And that, my friend, will be a game changer if you understand exactly how your story is going to be valuable to you and other people. So, Jessica, it is another recorded day on a Friday, but you guys can get this on the middle of the week, but we record on Friday. How are you feeling today, sister?
I'm feeling fabulous. I'm excited. I'm excited for today's conversation, but I'm even more excited for December 5th.
Mm.
Yes,
Say that date again. Say that date again.
December 5th. Dare to ignite your dreams. Asa, can you tell us a little bit about what Dare to Ignite Your Dreams is, how it came about, and what are the themes that are in each of the books? Because it's not just one, it's 10. He 10 acts.
So here's the thing. It's an anthology of immigrants, an anthology of courage, an anthology of dreams, right? It's an anthology of purpose, passion, and trust. It's an anthology of the incredible people that I put together, that comes together actually to create this journey of sharing this story. Because oftentimes I notice when we all go through the process how like or uncomfortably sometimes share your story. When somebody asks you like, Jessica, how did you get here, Jessica? And you had to tell them your story of that, take them on that museum tour about your journey. Sometimes people get a little bit, feel that intimidation happening for them. So when we came together, all of us, we decided we are going to share a story with the world, have a conversation with the world, and define the pieces or the places in the story that we want to take them on that museum tour to show them, hey, check out here. And this situation happens here. And this situation changed my life. Or the situation helped me see the value in my own story, my own journey. And we can bring that together with a bunch of immigrants. So shout out to all the immigrants all in the world because for me, my journey started in Jamaica and I came to the United States. I joined the military. I did 22 years in the military, retired from it. But then I figured out my journey got to do something else. So the big question that drove me when I was in the military was, who do you want to be a hero to, Asher? And the answer to that question was the American population because they were my sacrifice. But then the same question when I retired from the military was, who do I want to be a hero to? And I came back to my immigrant family because they also were my sacrifice. And that's one of the community that helped me really get through the military. And I wanted to find a way to give back to them. So I started this journey of writing stories. And we can get into that, the depth of that, but really it's about dare to ignite your dream, ignite your dreams. So I say, ignite your dreams. I dare you to ignite your dreams.
I
Mm.
would ask you a question, and this one may be a little tricky, but
Mhm.
how and when did you realize that your story was worth sharing with other people? That other people would find your story valuable?
I'm gonna take you back. So this is my fourth book. So my first book was Turning Traumas into Treasure. The second one was Focus on Your Path. The third one was Two Suitcases to Success. Two Suitcases to Success. I messed it up every time I try to say it. It's my list. It's my list and my accent. But I remember when I turned in the first manuscript for Two Suitcases to Success, and my editor was like, Asher, what about your story? And in that moment, that was a perfect question to ask me because up to then, I didn't thought I was ready to share my story because most of my other books was mostly about concepts and principles, so forth and so on, right? It was just ways of really thinking what you're thinking. But this time, she asked me that question, and I felt comfortable, like I wanted it. I could think I can write my story now, and I started working on it, and it was very uncomfortable. Jess, I'm telling you right now, be completely 100% honest, right? I'm always honest, but I'm gonna be even more honest. It was very uncomfortable because I had to go back in my story and face some of the things that I tried to bury, trying to hide, or at least trying to not visit anymore. And I have part of my journey. And but when I went back and once I start writing, and the thing about writing is once you write it out, you kind of create an emotional distance from it. So once I start writing out, create an emotional distance from it, I start seeing how valuable it is. And I was like, oh my God, everybody needs to do this. Sometimes when you do stuff in life, that white piece, like what hurts you, what helps you, you're like, oh, somebody need to hear about it. I need to tell people about what hurts me or what helps me, right? But I recognize that writing my story out and revisiting it from the frame of reference of where I'm at right now in my life, with the mindset I'm at, makes it even more powerful. And I was like, people need to do this because once you start doing that, you start seeing how valuable your story is. And I started seeing how valuable my story is when it compared to how I can make it useful to other people. Because even my coach Joe Weldon often tell me this: no one cares about your story, Asher, unless you can make it about them. So then I start going back into my story. I'm like, we are the story that make us up. And I'm here to make a living from the life I've lived. So how do I go back into my own history, my own story, and see the value in it and make it useful to other people? And I started doing that in my third book. And then I'm like, okay, I need to find people to do it with. So like early this year, I started asking people, a bunch of immigrants, like, hey guys, do you want to come together and write a book together? I'm like, sure, yes, let's do it. And one says yes, the other one says yes, the other one says yes, and they start growing and the numbers start coming together and people start turning your stuff. And man, I gotta say, it's been a blessing just let's see that play out. And deep down in my heart, that feels so good, so great to experience that.
And you should. It's a phenomenal piece of work that you've compiled, not just your story, but 9 other stories to create this
Mm-hmm.
10-book collection. Last week, we spoke about measuring backwards. That's
Mm,
exactly what writing and sharing your story is. I loved how you said the museum tour of your life and
mm,
sharing with people essentially the reflections and the backwards lessons that have gotten you to where you are today. Thinking about what is it that you overcame, what were the wins in your life, and sharing them with other people in a way that could resonate and add value to them is what will keep them turning the pages. If you think about the most interesting books you've read, I personally
mm-hmm.
read self help books, I read biographies, and then I read religious books, like
Mm-hmm.
Christian themed books, partly because I'm looking for inspiration. I'm
Mm-hmm.
always looking and wanting to be inspired. And I feel that the best inspiration comes from other people, comes from hearing the things that they experience that sometimes you can't even imagine. Those are the good parts of the books that you can't even imagine someone going through all of these things and still surviving and thriving. And you're like ready to turn the next page because you want to read more and you want to hear more and you want to see how they triumphed over this situation. And then it makes you reflect on your life, on is my story valuable? Can someone benefit from the things I've experienced and overcome? Can someone cheer me on for the wins that I've had in the past and see themselves winning in the same way? I think that's what good storytelling is about. It's about having people feel what you're writing in the pages of your book and to visualize what the experience is. Every time you say that you were in the military for 22 years, I visualize you as like GI Aster, like your army fatigues. I can see you with your gun. That's how I envision you because of the way you have spoken about your time in the military. And it
Mm-hmm.
was such an integral part of who you are and who you are today and how you're here sitting with me having this conversation on a Friday. So that's what you want to bring to your audience when you are writing a book. How did
Mm-hmm.
you figure that out?
Mm-hmm. If I ask you this question, Jess, where you gotta tell me about us, tell me a story, you're gonna tell me somebody's story. You're gonna tell me somebody's story. But then if somebody asks me about you, I'm gonna tell them your story. Right. So all the time what we always do, we always telling a story about somebody. But then to tell our own stories is the difficult part. Like 'cause we don't think, oh, talking about me, talking about myself. It just like the self-conscious stuff that happened to you, right? But then I realized that when I wrote my first book for myself, it was the uncomfortable part was trying to like talking about my own story, like telling people about it. But then I was like, wait a minute, I'm more excited about telling other people's story. So then let me bring together a group of people so I can tell their story. And then together we can tell each other's story. And I realized the more excitement in an anthology process, right? The anthology of sharing each other's journey. Because now I can just talk about you, how great you are and awesome you are, and the experience I've had with you because I'm telling you a story. It doesn't feel like me just talk about myself. Because it's uncomfortable to talk about yourself sometimes in certain settings. But it's way more inspiring to talk about other people's story. So going back to the question, yes, we gotta talk about the journey that we've been on. And we gotta own it because once you increase the value of your story, your journey, then you feel the vibe to other people. Because when I retired from the military, just to tell you this, I had such a tough time, a really difficult time, like connecting back with the brotherhood of civilian life because I was cut off from my brotherhood that I've been with for 22 years. and a lot of depression hits and all that stuff that hits you when you're like no longer part of the tribe. Even though you still feel like you're part of the tribe, but you're not part of the tribe, and you gotta find your new tribe. And I wanted to create that new tribe, and the tribe I wanted to create was around immigrant story. I want to be part of the immigrant tribe. So we started working together and doing that piece, and I feel like I'm building that community, and it's growing, and I want to bring people in because a lot of people are alone. As great as you are, just sometime in life, you are alone, and you go like, "Where are my people at?" And that's where the tribe thing come in. That's where the anthology comes in, because you get to come together and collectively share the journey. And I felt like this book was an awakening for me to, I'm going to start sharing this because I love people's story. I love people's story. One of the reasons why I do my podcast, cause I sit there and listen to people talk about this stuff, because I'm always intrigued about the stuff they overcame and the things you've battled with. Because oftentimes you talk about the external challenge and the internal one, because the external battle sometimes we can do them, but it's the internal one that really hold us back. Like the conversation we have with ourselves inside ourselves, that one right there, just is the one you get to write about. Yeah.
'Cause most people, you believe what you tell yourself.
But you're the first believer, the first doubter or believer is you.
You believe what you tell yourself, which is why you should speak nice to yourself.
Yeah.
And I will say, everyone, almost everyone has had a time or phase in their life where they didn't feel worthy, good enough. They felt too fat. They felt too skinny. They felt too this. They felt too that. And they told themselves that. It's almost as if they were bullying themselves when you say these things, right? You look in the mirror and why would, from a woman's perspective, sometimes it's like, why would a man want to be with you? Or from a man, why would that woman want to be with you? Or, and if after a while you start to think not just internally to yourself, but those are the actions that you take, right? You don't give yourself self worth. You don't put yourself in positions to be worthy of whatever, whether it's a relationship or a job or an opportunity. And then at some point that becomes the story of your life. But it wasn't because that was true. It's because you said it to yourself so much that it became your truth.
Mm.
And so realizing that words are powerful, what you say to yourself, how many of us see on social media? I love when I see on Instagram, like the reels of either sometimes you see like moms or dads with their small children and they're doing like affirmations. I am beautiful. I am worthy. I am powerful. I am smart, right? And it's teach them from young that when they speak all of that out into the universe and into their soul, that's what they will become. And so showing people that your story matters, but what matters most is what you believe about yourself, because that is going to form who you are, the things you do, the things you overcome because of the belief that you have, because you programmed yourself that ain't nothing I can't do, right? That's like when people ask me all the time, and it's not, people used to think I was, I'm going to say people, because there are people in my family used to think that I thought I was, I'm like, no, I am far from perfect. I am perfectly imperfect though. And I lean into it with everything that I have. But the fact that, and I'm going to go back to the theme that I go to every week, that I wake up wanting to be better and do better. I go after what it is that is a challenge. I go after what it is that I want. I lead with my heart. It doesn't always lead me to the right direction, but I still lead with my heart and learn and grow from it. And so because of that, I know that I've overcome every difficult moment in my life, every single one of
You
them.
wouldn't be here if you didn't.
Yes, just like you. And so that's how I go into everything. And because I have a deep rooted faith in God, I'm like, whatever's gonna happen, God already knows, and He's leading my way, and what will be, what's for me is for me, and that's how I try to live my life. You being able to express that in a book and help other people express that in a book is a priceless gift that you give not just to the authors, but to the world. Everyone who reads these stories will find something profound and moving in every single one of them. So with that being said, Asher, I'm going to ask you,
Mhm.
and no favorites, right? Because all of the people that you worked with on this book series are all incredible. what was the one story, and you don't have to say the author of who wrote it,
Mm.
but what was the one story that took you back, like, it surprised you the most? What was the one story?
I would say this, it was one of my I won't say her name, most a lot of ladies in this book, by the way. But we was going through the process, and I remember the moment we was writing about her relationship with her mom, and she didn't have the greatest relationship with her mom. She just felt like her mom wasn't she felt like she was a mistake, right? Wait, I'm give you a little bit of the story. So her mom was a teen mom, like really early. So because she showed up early, she felt like she was a mistake her whole life. Felt like she was the reason why her mom didn't come to life because her mom got pregnant early and her mom was just didn't show like the greatest emotion to her. And she felt like she was a mistake. She felt like she was a mistake. She ruined her mom's life, all that. So just might have been a kid just feeling that way their whole life, right? That messed with you a certain way. But we had a moment where we was talking about it. And then I was sharing with her, like, think about your mom. What dreams did your mom had? And how frustrated you think she might have feel when her dream didn't come to life. She probably was disappointed in not having her dreams either come true because she had kids and she started having kids that young. And if you would have think about put yourself in your mom's shoes right now, just think about that. And she started crying and she was like, I can't, she couldn't read anymore. She was like, sir, I can't keep reading for me. But in that moment, she recognized, give her mom grace because mom had dreams too. And she was young, just a teenager at the time when she had you. And it was difficult for her to go through that journey. And just imagine how she's feel all her life. She didn't get no counseling. Just imagine being a teen mom, like, you know? And it made me think back to even my mom. Just imagine being 34 years old, Jess, and I already have 9 kids. That was my mom. She was a teen mom too. She had 9 kids by the age of 34. So I gotta take me back into the journey of recognizing like how difficult it was for these young women at the time when they have these kids and the mindset they had at the time and the dreams they had and how did it have impacted them. And there's some disappointment in a lot of parenting. Yeah, I'm like, I wanted more, but I couldn't get it because I had mouths to feed. And it made me have so much grace with my own parents because they worked hard like to get us here. And she, in that moment, I can feel like that forgiveness happening for her. It's like mom treated me a certain way, but in the end, I recognized she was mad at the world because she had so much dream and she got pregnant. She had to bring kids in this world and so forth and so on. Not to blame her for anything, but it's just the recognition of that process. That was moving. I'm like, yeah, healing happens when you're right. When you go back and look at things you start, because once those words start to come together on paper, because here's the thing, we live in a world of words, Jess. And what you say is and sometimes when you start putting those words down, you're like, oh my God, I could see it now. And she started seeing the point, connecting those dots with her mom's story and seeing her own story. And that was very empowering for her. And that was one of the moments I was like, yeah, this work is definitely healing. If we spend the time going there and she felt more empowered by doing it. Now, her mom get a lot more grace from her. She's not mad at her mom that the way she used to be because she felt like she was a mistake most of her life.
Kudos to you for helping her go through that process. The
Hmm.
fact that you questioned her to stand in her mom's shoes and think
Hmm.
about what her mom wanted out of life was, I'm sure, a whole new perspective that she had never really focused on because human nature, we focus on ourselves. We focus on what we want, how things affect us, the experiences we have, and they don't really consider other people in the story of our life. And for those of you who are listening to this that know us personally, this is not my story of a teen mom getting to tell her father, just so you know.
Yeah.
But my story is opposite of this. And in the sense, and you guys will hear my story. And in January, you'll hear more about that journey in my life. But it goes to show the different perspective and how profound it could be on someone's life when you have that ability to extend someone grace and realize that, yes, it wasn't easy for the daughter, but it
Mhm.
also wasn't easy for the mom. And
Mhm.
all we could do is our best. And our best is not always the best. Our best is what we have on any given day. And every day that looks and feels different. Today, I'm at 100%. Why? Because I've had a week of wins and blessings. Yes, there have been some challenges in the week, but when I tell you, because I have chosen deliberately to focus in on the good and be happy and stay in that place and space of peace and joy, and the holidays are coming up, and that's the week's been a huge blessing for me. But I know that people sometimes don't see that. the things that happen in their life, good, bad, are always blessings or lessons, but rather they get stuck in the why me and why now and what is this and all those things instead of leaning into what is it that you've experienced that could create an impact and tell a story beyond your life experience in the sense that when you write a book and you tell somebody a story, right? You tell me a story or you tell somebody my story, right? You just told it in those 5 minutes, whatever. But when you write a book,
Mhm.
your story lives on beyond you.
Mm. Here goes the legacy part.
Yes,
Because
it's beyond you.
something that when I was doing this process, so I was thinking, I wish I know what my great grandfather was thinking. Like when he was my age, I wish he had wrote a book and I could go read about. Now I'm struggling right now as a 44-year-old man. What my great grandfather was going through at the time. Maybe I can think through his mindset. But sometimes you want a history about your parents because here's something else I discovered when I was start writing too. Because my dad, he lost both his parents by the age of 10, right? So he didn't have parents. And he often tell us like one of the reasons why he never left. As tough as my mom could be sometimes, right? He was like, I didn't have parents growing up. I never wanted none of you guys to have that same issue. I'm gonna be here. So I look up to my dad. I look up to him because I was like, one day I wanna be just like him, do what he does when it comes to relationship. I haven't been that successful either yet, but I'm working my way there. Cause like that man stick around and stood up for his family no matter what. I'm like, yeah, I gotta do that. I gotta man up and be part of that same process, leave that same legacy. But I would look into his story because I would look into his history and he didn't go to school, my dad. Didn't go to school because he lost both his parents. So he didn't have a chance to go to school. So my dad couldn't read growing up either. And I recognized like his like the void in my dad's life created this new value in my life. Right. And but I recognized that after I started looking at his story, I'm like, why do I love this thing so much? Oh, my dad didn't have the opportunity to do it. Make sure I'm gonna make sure that I take 100% like opportunity of this thing. And I start connecting the dots in my history. And same thing, I look at my mom's side of the story. I start looking at her journey. I'm like, okay, I see why my life is built the same way, the way it built. But when you start looking at your parents' history, you start making sense of your own history. But you gotta sit down and look at it because you gotta see the void that was in their life or the value that they have or the virtues that they have. You can figure out how that plays into your life and why your life is set up a certain kind of way. But when you start going back and looking at the history, your story start making sense. And my story start making sense when I start going back and look at their history and then look at the patterns, the principles, the behavior that was going on in my life. I get to see that. What are your thoughts?
It's why I started to do like the whole ancestrytree.com thing, right? Because I want to know more about my family story, the things that I had no clue about. And because our ancestors, our
Mhm.
grandmothers, our abuelas, our great grandmas didn't leave stories behind, being able to capture that in a genealogy and see what public documents tell the story for us to me is like I could sit there for hours and just deep dive into that because stories are important to know where you are today, but more important to see how you arrived there. How did your ancestors arrive there? To me, it's just so intriguing. And when my abuela was, I'm going to say, before before my abuela passed away, I was so grateful that one of the things I did with her over the years
Mhm.
was tap into her stories, hear about her life, ask her questions. Sometimes probably questions she didn't want to have to answer, but she did. And it gave me so much insight to, I say, my personality. It's in my DNA. I can't help being the way that I am sometimes. Sh- She was extremely passionate, like extremely passionate. She was one of those women that in the Puerto Rican community, it's a joke, but it's a known thing because it's real that Puerto Ricans speak loud. They always sound like they're yelling, and it's not that they're yelling, they're passionate, and she was the epitome of that. Set her soul on fire with the topic that she was passionate about, and the whole building could hear her. And so seeing those parts of life through other people's stories that impact you is so incredibly profound and beautiful part of creating legacy. I think that so many people think that legacy always has to do about money and wealth, but really to me, legacies more than that.
So legacy, here's why I say the book thing, because legacy is also in intellectual property, and your story is your intellectual property. If you can package it, put in a book, right? And now it's out there, or even put in a recording and share it, same thing, right? You create an intellectual property for other people to tap into it. So for anyone if you listen to this right now, have you ever thought about sharing your story, but just don't really have like nowhere to start or right kind of community to support you? And I recognized that when we first started this journey, a lot of people they were like, I wanted to write my story. I've been wanting to do it. And it's like the opportunity shows up like, oh yeah, let's do it now, because now you have a community around you. Because when you do this work, Jessica, anybody, when you do this work, it's gonna get emotional. It's gonna get emotional because you're gonna pick up some big boulder that you try to plant back there. You're like, oh yeah, it's gonna get emotional. You're gonna need a community support. You're gonna see other people doing the same thing, feeling some of the same emotion. And by that shared experience, then you can get past that place. And that's why the community right piece is very important. And I'm like, I'm just gonna keep doing community work because it's the most empowering piece of the platform. You know what I'm saying?
All right, Asher, where can people get your book?
So the book is gonna be on Amazon on December 5th. It's gonna be on Amazon December 5th. And DTIYD is the website, dtiyd.com. It's going to be Dear to Ignite Your Dream. That's where we're going to be housing the entire like family of home base for the immigrant journey, immigrant experience with Dear to Ignite Your Dreams. And you can find the stuff there. And the book launch, again, parties on 5 December at 12 o'clock, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to make sure that the link is there. So Dear to Ignite Your Dreams, dtiyd.com/launch. And you'll be able to find the invitation on there as well too.
Did you just say party?
It's a party. It's the grand opening. It's the grand opening. The anthology journey.
You got me at the word party.
Party.
I am super excited to be there with you on December 5th at noon, at 12 noon Eastern time. For those of you catching this,
We're zooming it. We're zooming it. We on Zoom.
yeah,
We're gonna zoom
we're
it
gonna be
online.
having a party on Zoom. And so, what are some of the things as we wrap up that people could expect to experience during this launch event?
First thing, you're gonna get to meet all these authors in one place. You get to connect with them, and maybe somebody on that list of authors, like, yeah, I resonate with that person. Because here we are. We have Jamaica in the house, we got Romania in the house, we got Russia in the house, we got Pakistan in the house, we got Germany in the house, we got Vietnam, Kenya, Mexico. Yeah, we got the house full. We got a lot of people from around the world and gonna be in the house, right? And but you just get to meet the authors, and then also we got some giveaways, we got some games to play, we got some fun things to go play with, and you get to ask questions if you want to ask questions, a little bit of Q&A piece of that. But we get to like connect because it's all about community building. This is it, community building. Find people that are like you, that thinks like you, that are beating, that winning some of the battles that you want to win, and they get like team up with those folks, man. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations, Asher. I'm
Thank you so
incredibly
much.
proud of you. You have found, I'm going to say, multiple tribes in different aspects of your life to help feel connected to community. And that is something that is so desperately needed in the world today. That feeling of belonging, the sense of community, the importance of feeling supported, and you not have only been a crucial part of that for other people's story, but you have been blessed to have that from other people. So I'm excited. You can find me as
Mhm.
we wrap up today. You can find me on social media on Instagram at Success is Your Reward with Jess. And you will see me live on that Zoom party December 5th at 12 Eastern time. We'll put the link on how to get to that book party in the comments of the description. And so, Asher, where can they find you?
I'm gonna use Instagram for now. Asher.ra.sta on Instagram. That's my handle. You
And you
can
can go check out the book. I'm going to say this because Asher has a little bit of trouble at dtiyd.com. Dare
Mhm.
to ignite your dreams. See you
Mhm.
next week.
Next week. You sure you're gonna have the eyes to see me next week? Because I'm gonna be glowing even. I'm gonna be so bright, Jessica probably gonna blind you, Jess. I'm just saying.
And
You gotta
next
put your
week,
shades on. You
it's
gotta put your
like,
shades on.
can't wait. And I can't wait what the question of next week is going to be.
Yeah, totally. For the fans, friends and family out there of Idea Tennis with Jessica, BB, and yours truly, Asher. We do appreciate you guys listening every week, and and liking and subscribing to the channel because we're trying to grow this channel to 1,000 subscriber and beyond. But the first goal is 1,000 subscribers, so we can build up the process, build up the platform, because this space where we get to do idea tennis, and idea tennis is all about finding awesome way of thinking through your problems, thinking through your situation, innovative way of doing it. So we hope you guys keep coming back and keep us on the top list of podcasts you listen to. Any last word, Jess?
No. Have a blessed week.
All right, make it utterly fantastic from Asher.